And on the line, I've got my good friend and real estate investor and expert extraordinaire, Paul Black here. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much for that very good intro.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So you're in Ottawa, I'm in Kamloops. How's life out east?
Oh, things are pretty good here. We've lost all our snow, although we actually lost it last month, strangely. There was a bit of a magic day, or magic week, I'll call it. We had like 25-degree weather for a week in March. It was really weird.
Well, that sounds nice. We got 21-degree weather here in Kamloops right now. So it's definitely a nice day, that's for sure. So let's jump into the event and get going and let everybody know all about buying all the real estate you want with RRSP mortgages. And I just want to thank everybody for registering for tonight's event. Very, very popular one. We had, at last count, 473 people signed up to find out about how to attract OP RRSP, as we call it. And I just want to let everybody know that we had a few questions come in ahead of the webinar, so I will ask those to Paul as we go along, but I also invite you to put any questions that you have either in the, probably the best thing is in the question box, which is on your control panel there. So if you've got questions, you are welcome to ask them. And yeah, let's jump in and get going. All right? How's that sound, Paul?
Oh, it sounds good. Let's go.
All right.
Okay, well, I'll take over from here. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking for the next hour and a half, but I think you guys are going to be really interested in what I have to say tonight. So thank you for being on the webinar tonight. As Dave mentioned, it's called Buying All the Real Estate You Want with RRSP Mortgages. Now, before I get into the guts of the information tonight, I want to give you a little bit of background about me. And again, my name is Paul Black here. In my background, I'm actually a computer programmer and a technical writer. I know it's kind of a strange combination, but that's sort of where life led me, and it's actually helped me quite a bit now when I'm doing things like these webinars to help teach people. And way back in my early 20s, I did some research. I decided I wanted to be well off, and I did some research as to what wealthy people did, how they earned their money, how they kept their money, and I discovered three things. First off, there was businesses. They would create businesses. There was paper assets like the stock market and that sort of thing. And, of course, there was real estate. And I picked real estate as my first one to get into. So that was quite a few years back. And since that time, I've developed quite a bit of experience with real estate. I've done multiple flips simultaneously. My main focus has been multifamily rentals, small to medium-sized ones. I've done major renovation projects, sometimes simultaneously on multiple properties, so that's quite a bit to juggle. Joint venture investments as well. For those who don't know, that's bringing other people's money and credit to the table to buy property. And also RRSP mortgage financing, which is the subject of tonight's presentation. And a lot of people that live outside the Ottawa area don't know that we actually have a club here in Ottawa called the Ottawa Real Estate Investors Organization. It's been around since I think 2003 or so, and I was president back in 2008, 2009. I've been a member since the very beginning, so I've had my fingers in real estate for quite a while now. And I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students across Canada and in the Ottawa area. Some of you may not know, but a few years ago, I was actually doing teleclass trainings for some of Dave's clients and listeners who are on the line tonight. So I've actually taught hundreds across Canada, either in person or via teleclass. I've also been in the media. I've been in Canadian Real Estate Magazine, one of their early issues. The Ottawa Business Journal I was also featured in when I was doing flips on 6 townhomes at once. The Ottawa Sun as well, CTV, and CGOH is the local affiliate here in Ottawa. Rogers Daytime TV, it's one of those kind of daytime TV shows on a local cable network here in Ottawa. And of course, what's not listed on here is that I've been a Canadian Profits newsletter writer for probably at least 5 years, I think since 2007. I think.
That has to be your biggest claim to fame, I'm sure, my friend.
Oh, it is. I was going to put a separate slide in here just for that, but I forgot. Sorry about that. So.
All
All
right. And
right.
who's that lovely lady beside you in the picture?
Oh yes, of course. That's my wife, Rafida, and I actually met her. She actually was one of my students way back in 2008. And funny enough, I met her through Dave, sort of. She had actually taken a teleclass training through Dave with me, and she heard that I was doing a free event in Ottawa, and she lived in Montreal at the time, and decided to come and check it out, and things went from there. So
And
that's how.
things are going well with the marriage.
Oh, absolutely.
Then you owe me big time, buddy. I tell
I
you.
knew you were going to say something about that.
So
I
there you
don't
go. Canadian Profits is so much more than just real estate education, business education. Who knows where you might find romance as well. So fantastic.
matchmaking extraordinaire. Great job, Dave. Thank you.
All right, I'll let you continue, buddy.
Okay, so that's a little bit about me and my experience and my background. Now, before I get into the RRSP mortgages, which is the main topic of tonight, I know there's some people on the line that are probably beginners. They maybe have just started thinking about investing in real estate, and I wanted to spend a very short amount of time just going over some of the benefits of real estate investing. And this may be a good reminder for those of you even who are experienced. You might forget, like, oh yeah, there's those tax write-offs and stuff like that. So, well, let me get into each of these fairly quickly. So first off, one of the best things about real estate is that you have control over the investment. You decide how to manage it. And if you contrast that to almost any other investment out there, there's not that control available. With the stock market, the only control you have is when you buy and sell. You really don't have a lot of other control than that. You can't go down to Dell headquarters and knock on the door and tell them how to run the business. But when you own a property, you actually can do something with the property. You can do something to increase its value and so on. So control is a very, very big benefit of real estate. Passive income, and what I mean by this is you don't trade time for dollars. Now, those of you who've been in real estate for a while are kind of rolling your eyes going, passive, what's he talking about passive? Real estate's anything but passive, and that is true. However, what I mean here by passive income is that you're not trading 1 hour of time for whatever dollars that you make per hour right now. It's non-linear. So every month, whether you have to respond to tenant calls or not on a rental property, that rent will come in if you've picked your tenants correctly. Okay, so that's what I mean by passive. Like, you're not physically going and working for those dollars. Inflation protection, property values and rents tend to go up over time along with inflation, the cost of everything else. And you don't see that with a lot of other investments. Yes, things like the stock market go up, but that's not really due to inflation. That's due to just buyers and sellers, and you can see in the stock market how much it goes up and down all the time. It's an imperfect market, and what this means is you can actually buy property below market value. Now contrast that to the stock market, which is an efficient market. You can't buy below market value. It's just whatever the posted price is. As soon as you place your order, you're filled. Now, unfortunately, we can't do that with real estate at this point, but maybe it's a good thing. It's actually, because it's imperfect, you can go out and negotiate knee to knee with a seller and actually get tens of thousands of dollars in equity just by asking the right questions, building some rapport, and so on. Slow price movement. You won't lose 30% in one day unless some major catastrophe happens in your neighborhood. But that's very, very unlikely. You contrast that with many other types of investments, and you can lose 30% in a day. And my favorite benefits are the 6 real estate profit centers. And the first one is appreciation. So this is basically the value of the property going up, basically due to inflation, supply and demand, and so on. So as more people move into a city or town, demand increases, supply is reduced, so prices start to go up. Forced appreciation. Now this one is probably my favorite, and I'm sure anybody who's been in real estate for a while can attest to this, that because you have that control over property, you can go in and you can actually forcibly do something to the property to increase its value. So you can improve it, you can paint, you can do landscaping and that sort of thing. Okay, and of course I talk to your accountant about this first, but basically you can depreciate the value of the building, not the land, and offset those tax write-offs against that income so that you can basically pay no tax on that cash that's coming in. Cash flow, this is everybody's favorite, and I know Dave loves to talk about this. It's basically your monthly income, and that should say minus your expenses, not greater than, but ideally your income is greater than your expenses, otherwise you're going to have negative cash flow. Okay, and leverage is the last one. This is where you use a little bit of money and you control a lot of property. So in Canada right now, you can do as little as 5% down for owner-occupied. Now there are some creative ways you can get in and do it with nothing down and some other stuff, but that's not the traditional stuff that you'll see when you go to the bank. But even just right now, traditional stuff, you can go to the bank, and if you don't own a house, you can get a property for 5% down. Okay, that's leverage. You're putting in 5%, and you're controlling 100% of the asset. You get 100% of the appreciation, 100% of all the benefits. Okay, so that's it for this sort of the introduction to real estate. And I know a lot of you that already have this experience under your belt, but I just wanted to touch on that before I get into the details tonight on the RSP mortgages, because I want to lay a base of information there for everyone. So before I continue, I'd like to ask each and every one of you, what problems have you encountered when buying real estate? And I'd like you to go ahead and in the sidebar question window or chat, wherever that is, type your answers in there. And Dave actually has access to that list. He's going to read off some of them to me.
Yeah, so if you can put those in the question box, that would be ideal. So we've got some coming in here. So again, the question is, what problems have you encountered when buying or attempting to buy property? So if you can put your, just get some interaction here, put some comments in the question marks here. There we got lots of stuff coming in. So we've got no money, people are too scared to invest, unemployment, finding investors, not enough cash to put down for down payments, funds or probably lack of funds, getting over the fear of making an offer. There's a good one. Yeah, that's quite often. No cash in hand, run out of down payment money, difficult finding properties at below market value, loss of a job, fast timeline of deal. That's a good one too. Not enough cash for down payment, not having enough down payment, no full-time job. Okay, so challenges qualifying for a mortgage yourself. Oh, wow, so good job, you guys. That's a lot of great comments, great feedback there. Credit issues, yeah, that'll come up from time to time. So lots of stuff there. Paul?
Okay,
what do we got? Okay, wait, lots of stuff here. Too slow on mortgage confirmation. Here's one. Here's one. No guts. That's honesty for you. Way to go. Fear of not buying in an area I don't live in. Okay, so buying long-distance properties, cash-flowing properties. Excellent, you guys. Okay, thank you very much for all of those great comments. So that's working well. So,
okay.
Anything you want to touch on there?
Yes, and most of the answers don't surprise me much. Usually money is one of the most common ones. Qualifying or credit, anything around that is often quoted by people. And also, some people are a little more advanced and they're looking to try and raise money as well. And I find that a lot of people, they're either afraid to do it or they don't know what to say to people, and so they can't close an investor. So, whether you're a beginner and you just can't find the money or qualify, or you're more advanced and you just trying to close with investors. Tonight I'm going to talk about how a lot of that stuff can be addressed with RSP mortgage financing. Okay.
Okay, so a few more things have come up here, Paul. So again, self-employed one, hard to find cash flowing properties. 1 second, please. Whoop. If personal credit score is low, does that impact on business credit score? I'm not sure what that question is there, so maybe a little bit of clarification there. One question here. Can I use my own RRSP money to invest in real estate? Are you going to touch on that later on, Paul?
Yes, I am. I was surprised it took that long for that one to come up. Usually that's one of the first ones that people ask about. So
well,
I will talk about that.
Yes. Spring is in the air, my friend.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, so let's move on. I think I'm going to address a lot of this stuff in tonight's presentation. So I'm going to tell you a bunch of the problems that I had when I was starting to invest in property and I was trying to finance property. Okay? So first off, I'm not some magical being that's just figured everything out and I don't have to deal with banks or anything like that. I've had problems qualifying with the bank before as well, whether I was dealing direct with the bank or through a broker. It took me a while to figure things out. But when I first got started, you bet. Well, actually, the first few properties were pretty easy, but I was dealing with a good mortgage broker, and it was only, it was the first 2 or 3 properties. Most people, they can get through that hurdle pretty easily. Once you get past a few, it becomes more challenging. The bank starts scrutinizing things. So that was one of the main problems I had. And part of that included job verification. When I first got started, I was working full-time, but back in 2006, I left my full-time job. And after that, I had to figure out how to qualify for property. Now, fortunately, it is possible. For those of you who are self-employed business owners, you don't have the traditional, job, income slip and that sort of thing, then there are options available for you. But this was one of the problems I had. And proof of funds as well. So you actually have to prove often where the funds come from for down payments. The banks aren't stupid. If they see in your bank account one day you had $50 and the next day you had $120,000 for a down payment, they're going to ask where that money came from. They want to see where that came from. So that was one of the problems I had. Dealing with all the application forms. Now, in the beginning, I had a good broker. It was very easy, but then later on, it was like reams of paperwork. It seemed like all this stuff, and having it all thrown at you, and you're trying to figure it all out. It was a real challenge. Coming up with the down payment funds was also a challenge for me. I also couldn't finance property at 100% with the banks. Now, this comes as no surprise to anybody who's gone and tried to get a mortgage lately, but at the time, now I don't recommend this, by the way, to everybody. I'm not telling everyone to go out and finance every property 100% because you have to know what you're doing. You have to really be able to manage your cash flow and a whole bunch of other stuff. But this was one of the things that I was working towards, and it was a challenge because the banks, they want to see the down payments and all that stuff. So that was one of the problems I had. I decided to start looking elsewhere for financing solutions, and I looked at professional lenders or what sometimes is called hard money lenders, and they had their own set of problems. For anybody who's ever used one, they charge upfront interest. It's often called points, and so basically, you might have a very, very high interest rate, and then on top of that, they're going to charge you kind of like upfront money as well. Those very high interest rates, anybody who's ever borrowed from a professional lender knows it's a little bit nuts. Limited loan to value still. So what that means is that despite the fact that they're professional lenders and they're charging you just crazy rates, they still often won't go up to the 100% that you might need for a particular project. And that was a problem to me. In my mind, why am I going and paying through the nose for a professional lender if they're not going to be more flexible and give me the types of financing that I'm looking for? So that was a problem I had. And often they still would do credit checks and other requirements because sometimes you could find the lenders directly, but often you could get them through mortgage brokers. And because they're going through a mortgage broker, guess what? That broker is required by law, at least in Ontario, and I'm sure it's like this in every province, they're required to do checks on the borrower to kind of, quote, protect the lender that is also their client. So credit checks had to be done. There's some other requirements and things like that. So there was a lot of expense with these lenders, and I didn't see a whole lot of benefit. Then I discovered RRSP mortgages. And before I get into that, I want to define what an RRSP is first. And a lot of people know what RRSPs are. I know that. But I want to lay a common kind of groundwork of information here so that we're all kind of talking at the same level. So an RRSP, and I'm going to use the term RRSP to really talk about any type of registered investment account, and it's a retirement account typically, but not always. Basically, it's a special type of investment account. The existence of this account is known by CRA, and these accounts are always held at financial institutions. CRA imposes special rules and restrictions on these accounts, and there's many different kinds. There's RRSP, that's the one that most people are familiar with, unless you've been living under a rock. Anytime March 1st comes around, for weeks beforehand, you're going to see the ads up on TV and the newspaper. You're going to see them when you go out walking at the bank and everything. They're going to try and get you to take out RSP loans and make deposits and all this stuff. So that's what it's talking about, these registered retirement savings plans. And these are typically for people for their retirement years. That's when they start withdrawing the money, or they convert it into one of the next types of accounts. A variation of that is called a locked-in retirement account. Typically, these are set up with employers, and some of the investments are locked. They can't be sold out early and stuff like that, or the accounts are locked. So basically, but they're very, very similar. All right. There's also registered retirement income funds, which are called RRSPs. And usually what happens when somebody has an RSP and they turn, the age, I don't even know what it is now. They keep, I don't have to worry about the retirement part yet, but basically when you hit that retirement age, and the CRA has a threshold, and I'm sure they're going to keep changing it over the years. Once you hit that threshold, you have to convert, you either have to pull the money out or convert it into a RRSP, which requires that you withdraw a certain amount every year. There's registered education savings plans. These are plans set up by the government basically to encourage people to save for their child's education. All right. And the most recent new account type is the tax-free savings account, or TFSA. Okay. So that's an overview of the different types of accounts. And I've heard of some subtle variations of these, but these are the main ones to be concerned with. And these are the most common ones.
And sorry, Paul, just to get some clarification, I'm sure you'll go over this. Can RRSP mortgages be held in all of these different kinds of accounts?
Yes, and that's the reason why I'm talking about all of these, is because what I term RRSP mortgages, I kind of use it as a catch-all phrase talking about all of these types of accounts and how you can put these mortgages in these types of accounts. And I'll get into that in a moment.
Fantastic, thanks.
No problem. So all of these retirement accounts can hold the same types of investments. Eligible investments include stocks and mutual funds. These are the most common ones that people are familiar with. Most people with mutual funds. In fact, I think it's something like 60% of the population goes for mutual funds. Bonds and debentures, those are not as well known, but bonds, most people have heard of bonds at least. Term deposits and GICs. GICs are very common with older people that are just looking for income that's guaranteed. There's no fluctuation in value like you see in the stock markets, and even in bonds, actually, you can have fluctuations there depending on interest rates. Gold and silver certificates, there's one that a lot of people don't know about, but you can. Everybody's all hot and heavy about gold and silver lately. You can, if you own certificates, you can hold them in these accounts. And last but not least, the one we're concerned about tonight is mortgages secured by real property. And I've had people ask me, but unfortunately, no, it's not U.S. properties. It's only in Canada. It has to be in a land title system or land registry system, which are used in all the provinces in Canada. And yeah, so and it varies a little bit depending on which province you're in. But yeah, so
okay,
Canadian
okay, so just a quick clarification there, Paul. So if you see some companies out there promoting that they've got properties in the States and as RRSP eligible investments, what does that mean?
That's a very good question, and I've seen other types of companies do something like this. Chances are your RRSP money is not a mortgage secured against American property. Probably what your RRSP is you're probably buying a bond or something in that person's company, and it's probably a Canadian company, maybe it's an American company, and bonds and things like that are eligible inside retirement accounts. But really, when it boils down to it, it's not a mortgage. You're basically trusting the person that's running that company to pay back the bondholders. Okay, that's what I've seen it used as.
Thanks for that clarification.
Hey, no problem. It's actually a good one because I was surprised to see that I heard someone talking about that recently, promoting that, and I thought, oh, let's see, how are they doing this? And I looked into it, and that's one of the ways I can see it being done.
Yeah, it's basically, from my understanding, it's a kind of security, like you say, a bond or shares in a company or that sort of thing. Uh, to do it legally, they have to go through all the hoops to satisfy all the securities commissions and have a offering memorandum and all of that kind of stuff in order to be able to do that properly and legally. So again, if you see those kind of opportunities and there is not a legitimate offering memorandum, run away as fast as you can. Plus, like Paul says, it probably is some sort of a bond or a share in a company. You're not directly on title as a mortgage holder in that case.
Yeah, and I'd like to just clarify something there. There's and it's a bit too much to get into tonight, but I just want to touch on this. A mortgage is a very, very different investment than an equity investment, like a share in a company. A mortgage, there's actual security. The mortgage is like a document registered against the property's title, the land registry or land titles. So if something goes wrong, you can call your lawyer and have the property sold. If something goes wrong with a company that you own shares in or that you are a bondholder in, then it's really up to the person running the company to pay those out or to deal with that. So they're really very, very different investments. And so that's why, I'm not saying don't invest in these companies that do the U.S. properties like this. It's just that understand the nature of the investment is quite different. So,
Excellent.
So when I talk about an RSP mortgage, I'm referring to a mortgage held within an individual person's registered investment account. Okay, and as I said, it covers all those different types of accounts I mentioned earlier. Instead of calling it a LIRA mortgage and this and that, and some people say, well, like arm's length mortgage, well, even that's a bit vague. So because I just decided to use the term RSP mortgage. RSP is the most common one, and just you can let people know, if they have these other types, you can also use those. All right. RSP mortgages must be arm's length. Now, what the heck does that mean? Basically, the person that you are borrowing from can't be directly related to you by blood, adoption, or marriage. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Okay, non-arm's length first. Let's jump to the right side. Non-arm's length means yourself, your brother, your sister, your parents, your spouse, either common law or legal, your children, including anybody who's adopted, and a company that you own a controlling shareholder interest in. Now, that will not apply to most people on the call tonight, but I do get people asking me that. And if you own a controlling interest, if you've got, one partner or it's just you and you own most of the shares, then sorry, it's not arm's length. Arm's length, friends, strangers, uncles and aunts, I was surprised to see that on the list, cousins as well, but that's in the CRA definition. You can go check it out yourself just to confirm. And a company you own with a non-controlling interest. So if you own like 25% of the shares in a company, then that's still considered arm's length. All right, so everybody, at some point asked me this question. What about these non-arm's length mortgages? I have $50,000 in my RSP. I have $100,000. I have $400,000. One guy asked me recently, can I use that money to invest in my own property? Everybody wants to use their own RSP funds. There are many disadvantages to doing this over other people's money. Technically, it is possible. The problem is you have to go qualify at a bank. It also requires mortgage insurance with CMHC. The insurance is expensive. If anybody has ever looked into it, you'll see the premiums are quite high. And CMHC has tough guidelines. They have limitations on the interest rates that you can charge, the loan-to-value amount, so you can't do 100%, and so on. All right. And the other problem is you have limited funds. I don't know about you, but I think most people do not have unlimited funds in their bank account. They hit 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever in their RSPs, and they're going to be tapped out. So, you can do it with yourself, with your own account, but again, you have to go to the bank and you have to deal with all that stuff, but you're going to hit a wall at some point anyways. That's if you even get over the first wall of dealing with CMHC and dealing with the qualifying of the bank, which, a lot of people are having problems with that, and that's why they're on the webinar tonight. So that's why I wanted to address this issue, was that everybody asked me about this, and if you want to go look into it, fine, go ahead. Some people do it. I don't see a big advantage over it, over doing the arm's length ones. Once you get over sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, sorry, a quick question, Paul. And some people are sending in questions, and depending on what we're covering in the webinar, I might ask you a question right away, or I might wait until a little later on when we open it up to Q&A.
Sure.
But this one pertains to this particular section. So Gina asks, what about a company that your brother owns? Is that arm's length?
I think when you get into specific situations like this, your best bet is to call CRA. But the fact that your brother owns it and your brother is not arm's length from you, chances are that that company is not arm's length from you either. That's just my guess on that one.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I always get these types of scenarios of my mother's brother's sister owns this and a share of that, and it's like, you know what, at that point, you got to talk to CRA, because when you start investing with these mortgages and all the paperwork is signed, the parties involved are the ones that have to declare that they're arm's length. So you have to know what the arm's length definition is. If it turns out you're not, and then later on CRA finds out, then that's a whole bunch of problems you don't want, right? So you want to make sure, if you get into anything that's kind of weird like that, call CRA, ask them, is it considered arm's length or non-arm's length? Okay, and arm's length mortgages do not have these types of restrictions. So the next part I want to talk about is a trustee. Now, you remember I said that RRSPs and all retirement accounts are held at financial institutions. And because of that, if we're going to be placing an RRSP mortgage, we actually have to use one of these financial institutions. Now, unfortunately, most banks do not offer this. And there's up until recently, TD Waterhouse was doing them for many, many years, and I was using them for many years, but there was some other companies that did it as well, and TD just recently decided to pull out of the market completely. So they're not taking any more new applications, but there are still other banks out there. And basically, when they are administering one of these mortgages, they're called a trustee. So basically, these RRSP mortgages, they must be managed by one of these institutions. They act as a trustee for the registered account holder. So if you're borrowing from somebody else who has an RRSP, that institution is acting on their behalf. Okay. So what the heck is a trustee? It's a person appointed to manage the affairs of somebody else. That's it. I don't know why the lawyers and stuff make.
Uh-oh. We seem to have temporarily lost Paul. So give me 1 second, folks, and we'll try and get him back up here. Hold on. All right, come on. We'll get Paul back in just a second. Obviously, technical difficulties do tend to happen from time to time, so bear with us. Sounds like you're back.
I am back.
Awesome.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to do one more thing here. Sorry about that, Dave. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I am back.
No problem.
Can you hear me okay?
Well, it makes things exciting.
It does. I think the last time we did a webinar, I lost power just before it started, and I was driving to a nearby house. It's just, you know what, you got to have backups all the time, right? So, okay, so I don't think I got into talking about anything on this page yet, so let's go.
You're talking a little bit about what a trustee is, yep.
Okay, so well, this diagram actually goes into the details of it. It shows you, here, let's say your name's Joe and you want to borrow somebody else's RRSP money to invest in property. So you want a private mortgage from someone's RRSP account. And Jane over here on the right-hand side, she's a private lender, and she has an RRSP account with some money in it. She decides she likes Joe, she wants to invest in a mortgage on one of his properties. Well, that financial institution sits in the middle. They act as the trustee for that lender, and they hold the account in trust for Jane. basically. And that account can be RSPs, RIFs, LIRAs, and actually this slide has to be updated to the other kinds as well. Okay, so the RESPs and the TFSAs. So as you can see, I'm a big fan of diagrams. When trying to explain it in words doesn't work, I throw a diagram together, and I think it's pretty clear to everybody right now how that works.
Very good. Hey, Paul, I'm going to... Am I on here? Yeah, I am on. Sorry, sometimes I mute myself, so I'm not sure if I'm on or not.
Okay.
Got a quick question for you, buddy. And no pressure. If you don't want to do this, this is absolutely fine. No, seriously. Got a lot of people saying this is great information. They'd love to be able to get a hold of the notes. Would it be all right with you if we create a slide handout of the slides that you're going through tonight in a handout format to give to folks at the end of the call?
Pressure, eh? Pressure. I usually don't give out my slides.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, I usually save the information for the people that look into my programs. Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. If you don't want to do that, that's no problem whatsoever.
All right. Okay. Let's move on here. So role of the trustee. So the trustee, basically, with regards to the mortgage payments, they collect those mortgage payments from the borrower, and that's usually done using pre-authorized checking. So they set it up so that you don't have to shuffle checks around. Okay. They also deal with reporting. So they send the account holder regular monthly statements, and they send letters to any of the parties involved if somebody misses a payment and all that stuff. So that's all they're doing. They're this middleman, basically, and they're doing paper shuffling and money shuffling. Okay. And because they're the financial institution, they're holding that account in trust for that lender. Now, for securing private lenders, when you're trying to get people to invest with you, you want to look at two things: features and benefits. And I'm going to explain each of these in detail. So first off, what is a feature? And I know I won't explain this to Dave because I know he knows it quite well compared to what benefits are. But for those who don't, a feature is kind of like the technical details of something, like dimensions, the components of something. Whereas a benefit answers the question, well, what's in it for me? Okay, so I'm going to first go over some of the features of RSP mortgages. I'm going to get into the benefits after. And really, when it comes down to it and you're trying to get these private lenders, it's the benefits that sell people. Okay, so first off, these RSP mortgages, they stay tax sheltered. Even when the money comes out to fund a mortgage on an investor's property, it's still considered tax sheltered. Any of the interest payments are still tax sheltered. And for the lender, so the person who's got the RSP account, I personally tell them there's no setup or annual fees. There are with the trustees, but I consider that a cost of doing business. The cost is fairly low, and so I like to be able to tell a lender that when they, when I tell them that they're going to get, 8%, 9%, 10%, whatever it is per year, that's exactly what they're going to get. And you'll see why in a minute when I get on the next page. But that's why. So I pay for those. The RSP mortgage is administered by financial institutions. So it's not, some company they've never heard of. These are, big banks basically that are, they got websites and call centers and all that stuff, and they're registered financial institutions. They get printed and online statements. Now this varies depending on the trustee. Most do, but you might find one that deals with printed and they're trying to get to online or vice versa. So the pre-authorized deposits are put direct into their account. And so those are some of the features of it. Now in terms of the benefits to the person lending, why on earth would someone take the money out of their retirement account, or not take it out, but basically loan it to you in the form of an RSP mortgage instead of going and buying mutual funds and stocks? Well, I don't know about you, but if you've looked at your statements lately, I personally don't own any mutual funds, but I do watch the stock market. I know a lot of people out there. Like I said, there's about 60% of Canadians are in real estate, are in mutual funds. A lot of people have lost a lot of money over the last few years, especially since 2008, the big crash. Some people lost 50% of their retirement funds. and maybe they're just getting back to break even now, or they're just a little bit, above water. That's not a pleasant place to be. And so I personally find RSP mortgages are an easy sell when you start comparing it against that. Now, first off, I'd like to point out, because these are retirement accounts, if somebody has, for example, let's say somebody does not have an RRSP set up, but they have like $50,000 in contribution room, and they just thought, you know what, I don't want to get into mutual funds and stocks, I don't like them. But then you come along and you explain what these mortgages are about, and once you've convinced them about that, they could go out and get an RSP loan, make a contribution, and they could actually get a tax refund back for like 30, 40, 50% of their contribution back immediately. Okay, and then they could take the RSP money they've just contributed and loan it to you as a mortgage. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of it. If you hold one of these in a TFSA, so if the lender is holding a TFSA account and they've got these mortgages in there, those interest payments are tax-free income. Okay, completely tax-free. Contrast that with the RSP, it's not tax-free, it's tax-deferred. So it means when 40 years from now or whenever, when you retire and you have to pull it out of your RSP, you get taxed then. But it compounds tax-free during that time period. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which type of account, retirement account you have. There's some tremendous benefits to holding a mortgage in them. The returns are consistent and they're high compared to many, many other types of investments. I don't know about you, Dave, but have you seen many bank accounts offering 3%, 4%, 5% lately?
Not too many, Paul. Nope.
No, it's
negative actually if you take into account the fees.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. So and even if you look at some GICs, it's just pathetic, the returns. And when you think about inflation, how much it's eating into that, you're easily negative. And I wasn't even thinking about the fees, so that's a good point. With RSP mortgages, you're trying to secure one of these people to invest with you. They can get a very decent, high return on their investment, and it's consistent, right? They have full control over which mortgages to invest in. So they just decide, I like this one, I don't like this one, I want to invest close to home, whatever they want. They have control over that. This one I really like. I tell people that it's simplified retirement planning. Think of it this way. How many of you have opened up your mutual fund statements, your RSP statements, and been surprised at the returns you've gotten? Maybe they were lower than you expected. Maybe the fund company came out and said, well, we earned 17% this year, but you look at yours and it's like, 6. Well, how is that possible? And that's the problem with mutual funds, with stocks, is that if you're just doing the standard buy and hold, it's almost impossible to project in the future to see what you're going to have, 20 years from now. But when you're talking about mortgages, because the return is fixed and you have to pay it, basically that person who's lending money, they are going to be able to project into the future and say, okay, well, if I'm earning 10% per year, then at the end of 5 years, I'm going to have X. And they will. Okay? So that's what I say, what I like to tell people, that it's really simplified retirement planning. There's no ups and downs like the stock market. There's a predefined investment term. So, for example, they can decide, you know what, I don't want to invest for 5 years. I only want to invest for 3 or 2 or whatever. Or I'm just interested in short-term, 1 year or less. And then, they can decide that. The biggest thing here is that the investment is secured by real estate. I do not use the word guarantee, and you should not either. There's security there, and you'll see any of the mortgage companies, anybody's out there talking about this, the word security is what they got to use, because that's exactly what it is. The mortgage is a secure charge against the title of that property. And there's no time required for the lender. Once it's set up, it's on autopilot. And there's no expertise for them. They basically, they work with you to pick the investment and they run with it. Okay? So those are the benefits of dealing with RSP mortgages and trying to convince private lenders like why they should do it, why they should invest in them. Any questions about that, Dave?
Paul, okay, so Just a little clarification Gord's asking for you. So he says, so a participant has to convince a private lender to agree to deal with you on an RRSP mortgage. Yeah, that's basically what we're talking about, Gord, unless I'm
Yep.
misunderstanding the question. So that's the whole concept here is to get folks to invest their RRSP funds with you in your real estate investments. If they don't have an RRSP account, then Paul's given a few ideas there on how to show them that this might be a good idea for them to either open up an RRSP account or a tax-free savings account, TFSA, is another option as well.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, let me see. How do I find people with RRSPs to do this? My friends' relatives are all dead broke.
Well, this is actually easier than you think. It's about talking with people, and I think this might scare off people sometimes, but it's not that hard. You just start talking about the fact that you're investing in real estate, and you're looking for anybody who's interested in getting a good return on their RSPs. And if they seem interested, you talk more about it. If they ignore you or start talking about the recent game on TV, well, then you don't talk about it anymore. A lot of people make it a bit more complicated than it needs to be, and really it's about just talking with people about it and going through your network. So because you can't deal with family members directly, for the arm's length, that kind of rules them out. So you start dealing with friends, colleagues at work, local investment groups, that sort of thing.
Cousins, uncles, and aunts, that sounds good too. Robert's got a question here. Do you secure private lenders independently, then find a financial institution to play their role as the trustee? So you find the investor first with the RSP already set up, and then look for the self-directed RSP trustee option?
Oh, I see. The trustee, you're going to want to pick with one, select one up front and get to know them and their policies and their paperwork. I worked with TD Waterhouse for many years, but as I said, they just recently, actually just this month, they're closing down those operations. So there's at least 3 or 4 other trustees in Canada. They each have slightly different guidelines and rules around it. You just got to pick one and get used to them and work with that one. So once you've done that, it's just a matter of finding a property, or looking at a property you have and deciding, you know what, I want to place some financing on that, and then going out and finding a private lender to loan their retirement account to that in the form of an RRSP mortgage.
Another quick question here, Paul, from Mary. Are investors required to pay capital gains on properties that are sold? So you're an RRSP investor. Does any of this come in as capital gain? And that's, do they have to pay tax on that?
No, the investor, the person who's let me just make sure I'm answering this correctly here. The person lending their RRSP, they are a mortgage holder. The interest payments that are going to them are exactly that. They're considered interest with CRA. Okay, so if they're in an RRSP, they're not taxable until they're withdrawn in the future at some point. Okay, there's no capital gains for them. Okay. And there are some more advanced versions of RSP mortgages where you can do I call it profit sharing, but it's really not. It's kind of like interest bonuses at the end, but even that, it's just interest. There's no capital gains in there. The person who owns the property, they're the ones that deal with capital gains issues.
All right, we've had 3 people come up with the same question, so I better ask it to you now. Can you have more than one RRSP investor on a single property?
Yes, you can. You can combine multiple people. It's called a syndicated mortgage. Basically, it's a fancy word for pulling people together, pooling the money, and it's registered on title as one mortgage, even though there's multiple account holders behind that. Now, that has to all be with the same trustee, though. So you can't have 3 different trustees. So part of the process, and I do get into a lot of this stuff in my course that I'll really talk a little bit about later, is basically, getting everybody with the paperwork set up so that they're all pointing to the same mortgage and it all closes at the same time. It's really not that hard.
All right, very good. Let's continue on. I know I appreciate everybody's questions. Again, sometimes I ask them in order if it corresponds to what we're talking about. Otherwise, I might leave some of them to the end and ask them at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, one of the things here is that once you get it, once you really understand how these things work, it's actually quite easy to sell to investors. I mean, how hard is it to convince someone, you know what, would you rather earn 8 to 10% with me or negative 2% in the mutual funds where you can't project what you'll get in the future, or 2% or whatever in GICs? Okay, so it's fairly easy to do. And we just did a whole bunch of questions there. This is good, Dave. You want, maybe what we'll do, what are we looking at for time here? Just about 10 o'clock here, my time.
Yeah. So do you want me to shoot some more questions at you, or do you want to keep going a bit?
Just maybe about 2 or 3 more, and then we'll keep going.
Okay. So let's start with some of the ones that came in earlier. So just kind of general questions. So
yeah, sure.
One from Robert here says, economic indicators are suggesting caution. Debt load ratios in Canada are surpassing U.S. figures just prior to their mortgage crisis. What impact might an imminent Canadian crisis bring to the leveraged investor?
What impact would
might an imminent Canadian? So if the shite hits the fan here in Canada like it did in the States in 2008, what impact is that going to have to the leveraged investor?
Oh well, that's an easy thing. Like you'll get clobbered if you over leverage, and that applies to anything. I mean, it is possible technically to leverage in the stock market as well. So whether you're in the stock market and that goes down the tubes, or the real estate market crashes, like you got to be careful about that. And that's why I don't recommend that people finance properties at 100%, except in very certain circumstances. And I do talk about that in my training, but it's, because you really have to have some good, good financial training behind it, some good experience with running properties. And you also have to realize that if you're going to hold it at 100% for, a few years, you can get hit by a market turn down. And in some markets, they're more resilient. Ottawa, we've had a very resilient market for the last 50 years. Could have something to do with the fact that it's, a government town with a lot of other industry. But then you go to other cities, Edmonton, Calgary, and when you see some of the downturns that have occurred there, I mean, there have been many people that have lost their properties. So you have to be careful about going to the 100% mark. And like I said, there's only certain circumstances, very short term, under certain scenarios that I personally recommend you can do it. There's nothing stopping you from doing it, but anyways, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep the answers short, buddy, because I got a lot of questions here for you.
Okay.
So another one here from Marjorie. She says, if I've got a real estate investment business and it's applying for a loan or line of credit, will the bank require that my personal credit score come into play?
Yes. Okay. That's a short answer.
That's all we need. That's good. All right. Yes.
Yeah. unless your company has a lot of assets and stuff that can cover on its own, but even then, they often require personal guarantees. So
they usually do. It's like a financial proctology exam going through these, qualifying for stuff. Okay. Gord asks, do credit unions in Manitoba qualify as trustees?
I don't know. There may be some out there, but the ones that I know of are not credit unions. They're trust companies. So, and there's one that's in Ontario that is actually going to become a bank soon, I believe. So
that comes up to the next question. What are some of these institutions if TD doesn't do it anymore?
Olympia is one of them. Canadian Western, B2B Trust is another one. So those are some of the trustees. Now, I do have one more question. One more question.
Okay. So for Michael, what happens if the RRSP lender wants their money back after a few years?
That's always a risk, and one that I recommend people try to address up front. Let the people know that what the term of the investment is going to be, but also keep it in the back of your mind that, life happens and someone may need that money, like really need it. So just be aware that if that happens, then you might have to go out and find a replacement for them. Now, you can just tell them, I'm going to do my best to find a replacement mortgage for your money, but there's no guarantees, and you'll have to pay any costs associated. That's what I recommend, because they're the ones who are trying to break it and get out of it. But typically, I set them up. I set them up in advance. Like I position it in their minds that this is a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, whatever it is.
All right, very good. So we're going to forge ahead, you guys. If you miss something, if you're rapidly trying to take notes and you miss something, remember we will have a replay if technology cooperates with us of tonight's presentation, so you can catch up on that later on by watching the replay. Okay, Paul, take it away, buddy.
All right, thanks, Dave. Okay, so this all leads into what I'm offering this evening. It's called my Creative Financing Using RRSP Mortgages Home Study course. And I developed this because I got questions from people like yourselves over the years, and I tried to explain things in 10 minutes about how these work, and it was very hard. You just can't do it. So I put together a course, and the first part of this course is the main course manual. And this is 134 pages of detailed instructions and diagrams. It's going to show you step by step exactly how to do the RRSP mortgage paperwork. Now this is with TD, so I have to update this, but that's only one piece of the manual. It's only one chapter in there. The rest is all about how to convince people to invest with you. There's a ton of stuff in there that really puts rounds out the education around these mortgages and how they work, all the ways you can use them, how you can present it to investors, how you can use them to buy, sell, and even refinance property. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. So that's the main course manual. The second part is I actually did a training call a few years back with a guy who hired me to teach him about RRSP mortgages. So this was before I actually had the course, and he hired me for 3 hours and spent it on the phone. And we talked not only about RRSP mortgage financing, but about all stuff related to real estate, because he was just getting started. He had heard about these things and he wanted to learn how they work. So I recorded that call, and so basically you can listen in as I explain exactly how to put these RRSP mortgages in place, basically for purchasing property, and basically this is what he wanted to do, so you can learn how to do it as well. The next part is I decided, everybody learns a little differently. Some people like listening, other people like reading. So I put together a call transcription. So those 3 hours of audio, you can read everything that's on those and take notes. I cover everything from the in-depth RRSP mortgage financing, real estate techniques, to how to buy property, all this stuff. He talks about qualifying. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. And basically, having this in transcript form makes it much easier for you to refer back to when you need it. All right. The fourth part is the Forms and Tools CD. Now this includes all the forms you need, and I did recently update this with the trustees that I mentioned, and I've since found another one after that. So this Forms and Tools CD will include the the blank forms for you to work with and the information for those trustees. It includes Excel spreadsheets to help you out. So I actually talk about this in the main course manual. I talk about there's one spreadsheet in there that helps you plan how you're going to pay back the interest and the principal from that mortgage, depending on cash flow, depending on equity appreciation in your market, and you can adjust all that. That's just one of the spreadsheets that's in there. I've also included MP3 and Windows Media File digital audio recordings of that training call. So if you like putting it on your MP3, you don't have to rip it. You can just copy the MP3s or the WMAs over and put them on your MP3 player, and you can go with that. So the total value of that course I've sold for years is $997. Okay, but just recently I decided to expand this. So just a little over a month ago, I actually put together a digital online version of this. And what I've done is I've created step-by-step video recordings, and these are based on my live RRSP mortgage course training. I walk you through the entire process. I also give many tips based on my personal experiences over many years of investing. It really is like having a mentor right there showing you exactly what to do at each stage. And I'll tell you, a lot of the people who've taken my trainings, whether live or this one or other courses, what they not only like is that I'm giving them the information about the topic, like RRSP mortgages, but I also give those stories and the personal stuff around it. That really helps solidify things, and I get a lot of positive feedback about that. So that's the first part of the digital online course. Part two, you get all the forms and tools. You can download those in the private members area. You get instant access to everything, so you don't have to wait for the physical shipment. Up until I had this digital course available, people had to wait upwards of 10 business days for the shipment to arrive. That's just the way that the courier companies in Canada Post work, depending on where you live in the country. Now at least you can get some core information right away, and when the course manuals come, you can dig into that and learn it in a different manner. But there's also information in the manuals that is not in the videos, and vice versa. So they're really complementary. Okay, and you get a detailed instructional video there as well, and those will be updated over time as needed. Okay. Component number 3, I'm actually giving action assignments, and this is something that only people who've taken the live training have ever received. Basically, I challenge you to complete these assignments. They're going to help you immediately apply what you've learned. It really is like having a mentor right there by your side, and I nudge you to take action. And I really recommend when you buy the program, if you decide to invest in this, that you do the action assignments. You get so much more of it. It's incredible. Some of the live students that have told me how different my trainings are because of these action assignments, because I encourage people to do it, and I give them little baby steps to move forward. So the total value of this digital course is $597, but I've decided to throw in some extra bonuses. I've done some private Q&A recordings, basically group coaching sessions, and for 2 sets of RSP course students over the last year or so. This is over 2.5 hours of Q&A, like answering their specific questions, and that is included in the members area. It's a value of $300. Okay. Oops, sorry, I went the wrong screen, guys. Sorry about that. Bonus number 2. Basically, you get a follow-up 1-hour group mentoring call with me. So I've been answering a bunch of questions tonight, but I know there's a lot of questions left unanswered, and that's just because of the time we have tonight. I just can't possibly go into all of them this evening. So if you invest in the program, you'll basically get to have a 1-hour follow-up with me, and I'll even record it later. You can listen to that afterwards. Okay. I've decided also to include a fast action bonus, a personal consultation with me, a private one-on-one phone call to discuss anything you want about real estate. Only the first 5 people to purchase, and they get this, and it's valued at $150. And let me tell you, I've had, beginners, take me up on this offer. I've had very advanced investors take me up on this call, and I've had, basically rave reviews from both ends of the spectrum about this. So don't discount this. If you're lacking direction, you're not sure how to get started, even if you're advanced and you're having some problems, I can help you out with this. So keep that in mind when we show the offer a little bit later. Now, the total value of the bonuses is $750. And let's recap. Actually, why invest in this course? Basically, you're going to be able to finance your properties with no bank qualifying. And I'm not kidding about this. You do not have to go to a bank. You're dealing with private lenders here. You don't have to deal with application forms. And it sounds silly, but you really don't even need a job. So if you decided to make the leap to a full-time investor, you have to know how to work with these, because I did mention there are products available with regular mortgage brokers and lenders that work well for self-employed people and stuff. But at some point, you're going to hit walls with them too. And it's always good to have this backup. And RSP mortgages, you'll never again be at the mercy of a bank. No down payment verification. The down payment funds can be borrowed. Try doing that with a bank. They're going to ask you exactly where that money came from. But with RSP mortgages, you're dealing with private lenders. They will not ask you that. They don't care. You can get financing up to 100% of the purchase price. No lenders will do that anymore. I know a few years back, CMHC offered a program, but that was only for residential home buyers. That wasn't even for investors. So you can get up to 100% of the purchase price. You get lower interest rates than through a mortgage broker. You can go deal with a mortgage broker for private money if you want, but you're going to pay through the nose for it. You're going to pay a lot more than the price of this course, let me tell you. No mortgage broker fees, low setup fees as well. You're also going to increase your leverage and your returns. You're going to be able to buy property with other people's money, not your own, because everybody knows you'll run out of money eventually, even Donald Trump. You're going to learn advanced strategies to boost your monthly and annual cash flow. Some of the people that have written back to me about this they've just been raving about how these techniques, it's not just the mortgage, it's how you structure the mortgage. If you do it properly, you can really actually boost your monthly cash flow and your annual cash flow. And it sounds incredible, but you can. You have to take a look at the program to see what I mean. Basically, I eliminate the guesswork when it comes to filling out paperwork, and there'll be updates coming for that as well. And in summary, the home study program, which includes the course manual, the training call CDs, the transcription manual, and the tools and forms CD, it's a $9.97 value. Digital online course is the step-by-step videos, downloading all the forms and spreadsheets, the action assignments, videos for everything in there, valued at $5.97. The bonuses, 2.5-hour private Q&A recordings, 1-hour group mentoring, private consultation with me, valued $7.50. Grand total value of $23.44, but I'm not going to charge anywhere near that tonight for you guys. Okay, so your educational investment tonight, I sell this every day for $9.97. But I talked with Dave. Dave twisted my arm, as he usually does when I do these events, and he decided that, you know, it's got to be a better deal for my members. So I decided to offer it tonight for only $497 plus GST or HST. All right. If you're interested in ordering the program, go to www.spirepoint.ca/RRSP cash. All right, that will take you to an order page. Scroll down to the bottom, click Add to Cart, and you'll be able to place your order. Now, this does expire. This offer expires midnight this Friday, April 13th. That's Eastern time. So don't email me and say, hey, well, you said, you know, midnight, and then you're on the Pacific Coast. It's Eastern time. So keep that in mind. Again, go to www.spirepoint.ca/RRSP cash. All right. Now, I wouldn't offer something without a guarantee, and I know Dave does, and never offers something without a guarantee as well. I guarantee you're going to love this course, or I'm going to give you every penny back. All right, order the course. Take the next 45 days to try it out. If you don't love it for any reason, just send it back, and we'll refund your entire investment. No risk, no hassles, 100% guaranteed. Again, spirepoint.ca/RRSP cash. All right. Now, I just wanted to go over some of the emails and the reviews that I've had about this course. Here's somebody named Malcolm Setter. I got this completely unsolicited, testimonial for the course. He just bought the course, added $900 a month cash flow, and saved $45,000 in CMHC fees. I only recently received your RSP course, and I am awestruck. Absolutely necessary if you are serious about real estate investing. Already, I'm taking the info from your course and using it on an in-progress deal to add $900 a month cash flow and save $45,000 in CMHC fees. $45,000, that's amazing. I will be encouraging every investor I meet to buy this course. Thank you again. And that's Malcolm Setter from Calgary, Alberta. Here's my good friend Ken Beaton. Paul is a very detail-oriented person who believes in over-delivering anything he does for you. His technical ability and attention to detail allow Paul to deliver exceptional products and programs. An example of this would be his RSP program, which I have personally used many times and will continue to use in the future. And that's from my good friend Ken Beaton. He's president of Fast Track Real Estate, and he's currently living in Edmonton, Alberta. He just moved out there a little while ago. And here we have another one from Marshall Barber in Fort McMurray, Alberta. I really appreciate the support, commitment, and time that Paul Black here of SpirePoint Real Estate puts into educational programs. I'm a real estate investor and a realtor. I'm always looking to learn more, and his courses are absolutely full of an abundance of detail. Anyone looking to find great resources to educate themselves in the field of real estate investing, this is the place. And finally, from Francis Terrio from JFK Investors, I attended SpirePoint's RSP Mortgage Workshop. It's a live workshop in 2008. I have since purchased 26 properties with joint venture partners and RSPs. I strongly recommend everyone to take the course. Money well spent. Thanks. So obviously people are enjoying this program, and I wanted to put in one here for a personal consultation I did with a lady named Michelle and her husband Vic from Montreal, Quebec. And this is for that consultation for those first 5 people that joined the program tonight. We've been on a lot of calls with a lot of people, and this is one of my favorites You're not BS. You're trying to actually do the math on the property. A lot of people will say, well, what do you think? Well, if I knew it 100%, I wouldn't have you on the line, would I? We appreciate you working with numbers, actual numbers, and getting down to the nitty-gritty. That's what we wanted. Thank you so much. And remember, the first 5 people get that personal consultation with me. You're working on a deal. If you have problems with something, I can help you work through it. Okay? And that's, again, only the first 5 people, fast action bonus. Why wait? You know, most people procrastinate their lives away. They really do. Don't miss this chance to fundamentally change the way you invest in real estate. Learn to tap into those billions in retirement funds, almost 800 billion at last count. If not now, when? So again, your educational investment is only $497 plus taxes. To order, visit www.spirepoint.ca/RRSP cash. And again, this offer will expire at midnight Eastern Standard Time this Friday, April 13th, 2012. That's not next year, that's this Friday. So don't let this slip through your fingers. If you're interested in the program, take it. You know, you're protected by that 100% money back guarantee, and I know you're going to love the program.
That's fantastic, Paul. So just a reminder to everybody, so you've included this brand new online component of the training course as well. Do they have, if they invest tonight, do they get instant access to that? Can they start working on things right away?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, that's one thing I forgot to mention is that if you decide to order the program tonight, once you've placed your order, you'll be taken to a page that will ask you to register an account name and, you know, like a username and password. And once you've done that, you'll be allowed access into the members area, and you'll basically have instant access to all the videos, any of the downloads, all that stuff in there. And one thing that I really didn't go into detail about in the breakdown of what's included is that one of the things that people were asking me for was, you know, how do I pitch this to an investor? I don't know what to say and all that stuff. So what I did was I took a PowerPoint presentation that I have used for years. I updated a little bit, and I recorded a full video around that PowerPoint, and basically walking you through exactly what to say. I've included a chart in there, like an Excel spreadsheet that lets you plug in the appreciation numbers in your market so you can show them how the market's working in your area, and it's completely editable. And I've included a full video just on that one piece because that was such a common question I got from people. I just decided, you know what, I got to help people put the information to use by actually learning how to talk to people. And I think that people will love that one piece alone. For anybody who's on the fence about it, they're not sure, that one piece will push, I'm sure it'll push over the edge to getting your first deal done.
Well, Paul, I appreciate that. I just want to give you my plug, my recommendation as well. So again, Paul and I have known each other for years, and Paul has done specific training programs for us, as he mentioned at the beginning of the call, and definitely every single time he has under-promised and over-delivered. It's no different with this program. It is an absolute bargain at $497. It's guaranteed. If you're not thrilled, you can try it for 45 days. Remember, you're getting instant access to all this great stuff. Plus, you're going to get all the hard stuff in the mail as soon as Canada Post gets it to you. So really, you've got nothing to lose. If you're serious about real estate investing, you are going to run out of money eventually. This course shows you the way, like Ken Beaton said. In fact, this was interesting, Paul. I don't know if you know this, but last year we were having Ken Beaton and I were having one of our training boot camps for our real estate peak performers, and Ken just went on and on and on and on about how great this program was. In fact, I think that's where several of those students came from there that gave you such great testimonials. So if that comes from somebody like Ken Beaton with 120 plus doors in his portfolio, if he's getting fantastic value from this program, and you know, praise doesn't come easy from Ken when it comes to this sort of thing. So highly, highly recommend it. And again, you can't go wrong. It's absolutely guaranteed. The price is right, and the price is going up after midnight on Friday the 13th. So you can wait, you can procrastinate and pay double the price, or you can invest in this now, invest in yourself, get a smoking deal, and get on your path to getting as much cash as you want with other people's RRSPs. So, Paul, any last words of wisdom?
No, you know what? I think a lot of people just have to take that chance and actually invest in themselves, give themselves a chance to actually put the information to use. And you'll see that once you see how easy it is to talk with people about this, you'll have no problems placing your first mortgage. I've had people that have gone through it, and once they've done one, they do 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 and 15, and you see that one guy did what, 26 properties, I think it was. You don't have to, you don't have to do 26. You could just do one. I've had some students that their sole goal was to buy 1 or 2 properties to help put their child through college. If that's what you want and you're struggling with the down payment funds and all that stuff, and you want to kind of leverage your money a bit more, this program will help you. That's what the RSP mortgages can help you with. All right, so you don't have to get it all from the bank. You can get it from other people's RSPs, and it's win-win for everybody. You win because you get your deal financed properly, and the lender wins because they get a good return on their investment. Okay, so I'd say that's about it. And I've just had a lot of people tell me great things about the program, and I love to hear it, and I love to improve things. That's why I added the digital component, and I think you guys are going to love it. Again, you get instant access as soon as you order. So I think that's it.
Very good, my friend. Well, thank you very much for your time. This has been definitely a hands-on, full of content presentation tonight. I want to thank you very much for that. Everybody, I want to thank you for being on the call tonight. Ask you a little favor as well. If you enjoyed the call, let's give Paul a hands up. So if you can raise your hand if you enjoyed tonight's call, if you got good value out of it, love to see that. And lots of hands going up there. We're going to ask you guys a favor too. At the end of the call, when you sign off, there's a little survey that's going to pop up. If you could share 1 or 2 positive comments about what you liked about the call tonight, I'd truly appreciate that, to let other folks that register for the call but weren't on the live call, just to give them a little kick in the butt to show them what they missed, plus to motivate folks to watch the replay as well. So if you'd share that in the little very short survey at the end of tonight's presentation, that would be fantastic. So, Paul, my friend, again, thank you so much. Definitely appreciate it. And everybody, again, you can check out Paul's website there. And that's spirepoint.ca/RRSP cash. So have a great night, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Dave, and thank you, everyone, for being on the webinar tonight.
You too. So just leave that last slide up for a while, if you would, Paul.
Yeah, no problem. I'll leave it up there. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye, buddy.
Bye-bye.